our lecture 2, and this lecture is about universal usability. So we are going to focus on some important topics here, and they are also our learning outcomes. As you can see here, the learning outcomes for this week is introduction about universal visibility. We're going to look at variations in physical abilities and physical workplaces, diverse cognitive and perceptual abilities, personal differences, cultural and international diversity, users with disabilities, older adult users, children, and how to accommodate hardware and software diversity. Okay, let's get into our slides here. So, as a profession, we will be remembered for how well we meet our user needs. So, we're talking about here interface designers, and their main job is to make sure that they are meeting the needs of their users. Those who visit their websites, they have a pleasant experience, a good experience, and that is what their ultimate goal is. The ultimate goal is to look after, address the needs of all users as much as they can. We have talked about this before. It's not practically possible to make everyone happy, but to a large extent, we can achieve our goals by designing in such a way that meets the expectations of majority of the users. All right, the as we all know that, especially we are talking about the huge international market for mobile phones, which has raised pressures for designers to make designs that will be accepted by most of the users. If you look at the examples of, let's say, for example, Apple phones or Android phones, a lot of effort goes into making sure that the design which will be developed will be one of the important design and one of the efficient design. That's one of the things actually are done here. Well, anyway, we are talking about these things. We will continue to talk about them as well in our coming slides. But as you can see here, that we are looking at especially this market, which is about international consumers and which varies from market to market. People maybe in one of the countries, let's say in America, will have probably different expectations or different needs for people who might be in China. So, well, anyway, most of these phones which are being developed, they will have some kind of a local touch, local feel to ensure that the local expectations are met. So, well, anyway, let's keep continuing here. Okay, next thing we are talking about here, the other thing which is also very important one is about variations in physical abilities and physical workplaces. I mean, so for say, for example, for average users, either they compromise, I mean, must be made, or multiple versions of a system must be created, which is really not easy to do. So, physical measurements can play a big role, and we can look at different human dimensions, which in some cases they are not enough to take into account dynamic measures such as reach, strength, or speed. And that's why many workplace designs can either help or hinder work performance. So that's also can be a challenging for designers to what extent that their design will meet the expectations for people who have physical let's say disabilities, or in some cases some people might be tall, some people might be short. So there are a lot of things here as well. So I mean, as far as we're talking about here, the physical workplaces, a lot is being put into in the design phase of making physical workplaces appealing, functional, and to a large extent acceptable for majority of the users. So these all things are happening all around the world. So even the furniture designers are playing important role as well. I mean, they are being part of a part of a design management process where like say for example furniture ergonomics. We're talking about here that how the design is done that will meet the requirements and needs of majority of the users. Okay, now some of the information we're going to look at here. We just want to look at some of the, I mean, there's a website here which I would like you guys to just, in your spare time, you can watch that website. That will give you some extra knowledge and information about universal usability. Okay, apart from that, we also gonna look at now that has also been an important factor as well. The design which is being made for furniture, or let's say you can call that in simple words, workstations. So workstations play an important role, and in that regard, we going to have a look at some of the design principles as well here. Say, for example, they relate to human like I mean humans working in different workspaces, and in some cases you might have seen adjustable height furniture is being introduced, rather than fixed height, so which is also making a difference as well. Adjustable heights and angles for chairs and work surfaces, they are now become they have now become one of the key elements of workstations in modern day computing environment, especially in the office environment. I mean, a lot of I mean, like I mean, emphasis is being done on making sure the posture is correct, and the seating depth and angle, backrest, height, and lumbar support, they all are in place. So yeah, I mean, these things sound they sound small, but in fact they play a big role. I mean, imagine, I mean, those who work on these places for long hours, if they are sitting in a place which is uncomfortable and which is giving them back pain, neck pain, or I mean, wrist pain. So these, I mean, factors are important in making sure that the organization is paying attention to ensure that their employees are getting the best possible furniture in the office. Okay, let's keep moving here, and we're just gonna move to, okay, now we're gonna look at some of the diverse cognitive and perceptual abilities. I mean, now, I mean, we have talked about like a human ability to interpret sensory input rapidly, and to initiate complex actions to make modern computing system possible. This is some kind of like I mean, considerations are being paid here. So here the word keyword is the Journal of Ergonomics Abstracts. Ergonomics means the office furniture which is designed to ensure that the workers are not getting back pain, neck pain, leg pain, or whatever, wrist pain. So you know, and in shoulder pain. So there are a lot of, I mean, uh, things are actually happening to ensure that the furniture design is up to the mark. I mean, we're looking at here short-term and semantic memory. We're looking at short-term and working memory, language communication, comprehension, learning skill development, knowledge acquisition, and concept attainment. So these are important factors, which play an important role from the human cognitive perspective. Okay, let's keep moving to our some of the other information here. We're gonna continue with that as well. I mean, because they uh, are closely related to the diverse cognitive and the perceptual abilities of humans who work in these environments. So, say for example, some of the key factors they have mentioned here are, and these factors affect perceptual and motor performance. I mean, we're talking about your fatigue, sleep deprivation, perceptual mental load, monotony and boredom, nutrition and diet. physiological rhythms. So, I mean, as you can see here, few of them are very noticeable. So, say for example, monotony and boredom. If somebody is feeling lonely, and that can also be, some of the factors which can make people uh, perform less. So the underperformance comes from uh, one of the, one's mood, how that mood is. Nutrition and diet also play key roles as well. you know so I mean, the poor diet definitely is not healthy, and it's definitely is not helpful in this regard either. So anyway, we're going to keep moving to our you know other slides here. Okay, but you have to note that in any application, background experience and knowledge in the task domain and the interface domain play key roles in learning and performance. So these things are very important. It's just not like you're learning and performing, but the other factors also they are also taken into consideration to ensure that performance is deeply related to some of these factors which can hinder performance in the organization. Okay, now these things we've talked about here. Now, another important factor is personality differences. You know, there is no set taxonomy for identifying user personality types. I mean, it's very hard to say, who likes what, and the designers must be aware of that factor as well. And they can subdivide, and those subdivisions can have various responses to different stimuli. Say for example, Myers-Briggs type indicator, which we also use. Like, say for example, a type of personality is extrovert, a type of personality is introvert. They're like people who like to be part of a team. Some people, they like to be say, oh, I just like to work on my own. So some people will not perform if they are working with a team, but they will perform when they are working on their own. So this concept of extroversion and introversion, it also plays a big role. So we're talking about sensing and intuition. We're talking about perception and judgment. We're talking about your feeling versus thinking. These are very important personality differences. These are the key personality traits which play important role in the design perspective as well. I mean, we're talking about here like designers who are making designs, but at the end of the day, it's up to the users and the type of the users, what type of people they are, and how they will perform with those interface designs. Okay, let's keep moving, and we've got here few more slides to cover here. Right, we got one question here. Identify the interaction component out of the HCI components. Those components could be humans computer interaction in the following scenario. A doctor performs an ultrasound on the ultrasound machine using the handheld device. So what do you think the answer will be? A is the doctor, B performs an ultrasound, C the ultrasound machine, and D the handheld device. So basically, that's what this person is doing, is actually is performing is using the ultrasound machine. So, like these variables also are important. So, I mean, like the whole thing, if you look at from the beginning, it's kind of like a scenario where we are looking at here that you need a doctor to perform an ultrasound, and to perform an ultrasound, you need an ultrasound machine. And with further that ultrasound machine, you also need to have some kind of a handheld device, which basically will ensure that the machine is working and the operation or whatever procedure is being done is being done actually. So this kind of information is here anyway. Okay, now some of the things we're going to look at here, which is also very important as well, cultural and international diversity. When it comes to design process, the like the designers will have difficulty in like I mean, different, as we know that people different from society to society. There are different characters are used. Some people they write from the right to left, and some people write from left to right. So we are talking about characters, numerals, special characters, and we're talking about left to right versus right to left versus so there are a lot of things here. Date and time formats are different in the world. So like we use first a day, then the month, sorry, the date, month, and the year. When in some places the month is written before the day. So this is quite confusing and can be. Telephone number and addresses are displayed quite, you know, differently in different parts of the world. You know, somewhere Mr. is written, somewhere Mr. is not written. So these kind of things, social security, national identification, passport numbers, they vary. So there are a lot of things, when it comes to designing. Etiquettes are different in societies. Policies are different, tone, formality, metaphors, so many things which can differ from society to society. So we are looking from that perspective as well, that how these societies, they look different, and that's what basically happens. Anyway, I keep looking some more information here. So as you can see here, like this picture shows two different people from two different societies, and they are designing for cell phones, which can open the door to a wider audience, especially, to engage people in developing countries. A lot of people use it's not just in developing countries, all over the world. Mobile phones are one of the most common tools in people's pockets. Yeah. So, I mean, some of the features these phones will have, they are the only way to access the internet. So in some countries it can be an issue. Literacy may be an issue. Users might have low monthly limits on data volume, depends which society you are in some societies, for few dollars you are offered a large a gigabyte of data. But in some countries, a large gigabyte of data is not easy to get. But I mean things are changing. And as you can see here, and in the picture what they have shown here, it looks like an old picture, but now I'm sure a majority of people all over the world, they are using smartphones. But what it looks like in this picture, these two people, they are using an old button phone. That's what it looks like. But anyway, but I think this might be a few years old slides here. But now things have changed. I'm sure in majority of the world, but it's still, I mean, I guess 5 to 10% people, they're still using mobile phones, especially elderly users. For some of the elderly users find it difficult to come to use the smartphone. So that's why they rely on their old button phones, which is still works fine. So if they're not interested in using smartphones, they can still use the old style mobile phone. So, well, anyway, that's also something which is happening as well. Okay, now now this is also important as well. As you can see here in this picture, a user with disability is using a television with the help of assistive technology. So these kind of technologies are available now, where people can be seated on uh, like a disabled chair, as you can see here. And I mean, then again, it's up to the designers, that they have to design all these things that will satisfy the requirements of this disabled user. So, I mean, once again, it's all about how you accommodate people who have disabilities. I mean, of course, it involves early planning, which is, very important, and it's also cost efficient if you rather do in the end. So then you might have to redo a lot of things, rework a lot of things. So, and now also apart from that, now organizations are being asked by the governments, such as American with Disability Act, which means that many organizations are now required to develop items and products and devices and equipment which will meet the needs and requirements of people with disabilities. So this is definitely happening, and it's happening all over the world. It is something which we have noticed is happening. So, I mean, then again, it's not just this like a television, but might be anything. So now all over the world, disability acts are being enacted, and companies are being asked to comply with those acts. Yeah, so that's something which is also happening, all over the world. Well, anyway, let's keep moving here. Okay, now apart from disabled users, older adult user are also one of the important population groups. And like, as we know that the world population is aging, so now we are talking about millions of billions of of these users. And it is now, if there are millions of users, then it is very important that to design those devices which will satisfy the needs of elderly users. Say, for example, in this example, Home Assist is an assisted living platform for older users, which is installed in Bordeaux in France. So as you can see here, so these kind of systems are being used and installed, which will ensure that elderly users are also not left out. So it's just like, in the design process, it is important. We have talked about mobile phones, like, say, for example, in mobile phones, large size fonts are are used to ensure that elderly users can use them. So that's something is also important that in that regard as well. Okay, now we have covered that important population group, which is now millions, and their population is growing very rapidly as well all over the world. It's not just in one country, especially in Western countries, especially in America, Australia. There is a large number of elderly users which also need to use computers, to use mobile phones and other devices. And once again, responsibility lies on the shoulders of designers to ensure that these people are also the center of their attention when it comes to uh, designing devices for them. Okay, all right, let's keep moving here. Okay, now we got some of the questions here. Which one of the following would not be found in a good human-computer interaction? I think I would say common shortcuts like Control plus Z for undo, which is very common. Icons that can have specific meanings. Yep, that's right. A long command line to achieve a function. I don't think so. This is a good idea. D sounds okay. I mean, that sounds that convey meaning. So I think C is the right answer. So, which is definitely nobody likes to see that, long command lines to, you know, achieve something. Let's achieve a function. Yeah, well. All right. Okay. Now, children users, guys. This is also important as well. We have got millions of children all over the world, and now these days, children are also using all kinds of devices, including mobile phones, laptops, computers, and iPads, as you can see in this picture. So once in this age of like a digital age, I mean, primary school kids, they are working together to read information, so I mean, is important, so when we are designing something, we must make sure that that the children are also part of the system, and they cannot be left out either. So that's why we are also, doing the designs for small kids to use whatever the digital devices they are using. Okay, let's continue. We're about to finish here. It's not much today, but anyway. Okay, accommodating hardware and software diversity is another important topic, So, but there are main technical challenges. They may be like producing satisfying and effective internet and interaction on high-speed broadband. In some cases, like a slower dial-up and some wireless connections, So these dial-up connections used to be 20 years old, like a technology, but now we've got high-speed broadband connections, which ensure that the faster internet connectivity. Yeah, responsive design, which can enable access to web services from large displays as large as 3200 by 2400, or even some cases might be larger as well. And in some cases, and some smaller mobile devices might have 1024 to 768 pixels and smaller. But I mean, I guess these days, like I mean large and responsive designs and displays are common, and there are, I mean there are very few machines or let's say monitors which have 1024 by 768 pixels, and also I mean supporting easy maintenance of or automatic conversion to multiple languages. These are also important factor as well, like these days, uh, especially in terms of quickly converting to different languages is a common feature in many websites and different interface designs. Yeah. All right. Another question here. What are the goals of a good design? I will say all of the above here: safety, utility, efficiency. Definitely, these are the important goals of the design here. Okay, now, yes, just, like some of this, we have covered now almost all the information here. And this is, we will cover in our tutorial class, assignment 2 and assignment 4, part 1. Okay, guys, we can just summarize all of these key information here. So we can discuss in our tutorial class, which is the most likely topic for today's class. Can you explain why? So I will pose this question in tutorial class, which is the least likely topic for today's class. Maybe I can ask your justification and opinion as well. So, okay, thanks very much for being a part of this class and listening to your lecture 2 of human computer interaction. So I will see you in the tutorial class, and then I mean we will have a short break. Welcome to